Good evening,
Booga, booga,
almost
booga, booga,
morning.
booga.
Booga 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 to you too. Now, with that being said, and all the booga people out there, I want to say happy late Easter. Um, for those who are Catholic, I'm glad to say Lent is over for me. I get to take warm showers
Yeah.
now.
Is that what
Sadly,
you gave up?
that's one of the three things I gave up. Hot showers being one of them.
Wow.
Uh, yeah. Sorry that the Pope passed away. I mean, they tend to do that when you pick old people to be, the leader of the church. So we'll see what the Cardinals and the man upstairs picks or choose next for us Catholics, and I'm kind of excited. Ish. We'll find out.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it could be worse. They could always pick me as the Pope. Nobody wants that.
Yeah, I think you're. I think we're all safe from that. Just
I
saying.
think I'd be a great Pope. Yeah, what high festivals do you want to put on the calendar this year? Well, let's see, it's Pope Pius the something something was the first pope to smoke a cigar, so we're gonna celebrate his holy day. So how goes the no smoking?
Uh, not as easy as I thought, but we're going on 3 months or 4 months. I forget. It sucks ass, especially after meals, showers, and other activities. Which so it's basically after smoking, after eating and showers. um, but yeah, I got a lot of shit I want to do, so I got to get healthy.
I
The
don't blame you.
next one is dropping 50 pounds. We'll see how that goes, and then yeah,
Let's see, 3 months. Let's say because I'll remember the date. Let's say if you are continuously going smoke free until it is the end of April, let's say August 15th.
uh-huh.
I will shave my beard. I'll find a picture uh of the Three Musketeer gentlemen I decided to use, and I'll trim and make my beard look like that.
Sweet. Now we got to get Bruce in on it, and we'll have three of the four. I don't think we can get Jackie to grow a beard or mustache.
You might have to use
Just
you might have to use my clippings just to glue one on.
oh my god, that would be so funny.
I'm not
No.
sending my clippings through the mail. You know how expensive that nonsense would be.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah,
We could just get a fake mustache or something.
it
You
would
can
be
be
funny though.
pretend as
It
Art
would be funny.
Carnivores. Yeah.
So how was your Easter?
It was good. We got a new priest at our church, whose accent is thicker than the previous guy. The old guy was funny and charming, and this guy is, fresh out of
Hope school?
seminary
I mean
school or
church
whatever,
school, yeah, preschool.
and he's just not as inspiring. And
Give him
uh,
time.
we'll give him another shot tomorrow morning. And hopefully, the old guy still shows up and does stuff, but it's just not the same. I mean, I'm not sure where he was from, one of the Latin countries, same as the new guy, but he had a sense of humor, and he was, just about everything you could want, out of your priest. And uh, I just started going this last year, so uh, I don't really know any other priest.
Like in his early 30s, young.
No, maybe.
Still wet behind his ears, young.
Yeah, he's like I wouldn't peg him older than 28, honestly. Um,
Well, I'm gonna when I get some time, I'm gonna write down this argument for you to give to this young priest. Just help him out in his day to day priesty duties. Trying to convince me that Santa Claus, good old Saint Nick, is not Odin. Now, I've made this argument to multiple priests over the years, and I normally end up with a good laugh coming from the priest. And normally a bishop telling me, "All right, Connell, knock it off."
Um,
You got to put these. You have to put these young priests through their paces, because if you
yeah,
don't,
I suppose.
they don't get a sense of humor. And the best thing that
Yeah,
God ever created was humor. Hey, Omanel.
I don't know that I would say pick that, but it's in the top three.
Okay, tobacco. I mean,
No,
sorry, cigars. Speaking of cigars, tonight I will be smoking a West Tampa Tobacco Co. I am not sponsored by them by any stretch of the imagination. They are not have any dealings with me, but they do have really good cigars. But if they do want to sponsor me, reach out and let me know. I'm not going to say no to a fine cigar.
Hey,
what's
Hey,
up, Owen?
sorry, I just had to give you some flack. Every time that I hear the Santa, all I can think is the church lady skit where she says, "See, if we just change the letters around, it spells Satan." As it has the reverberation.
who was that guy? Dana
Harvey
something.
McCarvey.
Yeah, during the 80s
Yeah,
Saturday
Saturday Night
night.
Live.
Yeah, ain't that special?
Yeah, yeah, I enjoyed that.
That guy was, it still is, amazingly talented when it comes to impersonations. I've seen him recently do some things. He hasn't lost it. He's incredibly talented, but somewhere in there, there's some crazy. Just saying.
Oh, there has to be. There has to be. Nope, 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 nope. Hmm. There has to be a little bit crazy.
So
So you're writing, huh?
did you have a Bruce game today?
Bruce game got canceled. Not enough not enough batters,
Okay.
and we're towards like the end of the module, so it's when we need full all hands on deck.
Yeah.
You said not enough what?
Batters, not
Oh, I thought you
batters.
said batteries, and I'm like, what the shit? Is this the 1980s and you're all on cell phones?
No. You have to remember those. How many D's you had to put in those mag lights? The mag
Four,
flashlights.
I've
4
got
to
one.
5.
Yeah.
You could beat
Hell,
somebody to death with one of those.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, that's kind of what they
That's
used
why
them
they were
for.
designed that way.
Yeah.
Oh, good lord! My stepdad had one. Almost dropped that thing. Almost, I dropped it. It almost landed on my foot, but I moved my foot just in time. That's a fucking dent in the floor. Let's just say my parents were not happy with me. I mean, I'm almost happy that I didn't, break my foot or my toe, but at the same time, you know how hard that's going to get out of the floor? No, that sounds like a you problem.
Connell, give me a random number between 1 and 10.
6.3.
Okay.
That's what I kind of expected. Pi. E.
Oh, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 5. Hey, Grassy Gamer, why not? I'll invite you too if you want to hang out. I am in a mood to chill. I'm tired, to be honest.
Yeah, I am too. I'm gonna probably head out in about 10 or 15. I always say this, and we have to stay up to like 4 a.m. or something. But
I am so sorry. God.
But now I need to get to bed at a reasonable time.
So I took my daughter to the library. She said she wanted to check out Percy Jackson and Lightning Thief, which is age appropriate. I get it. Whatever.
Sure.
I read that to her as a kid. She was wanting to reread it. She's 14. I get it. She comes out of the library and they didn't have Percy Jackson, Lightning Thief, but do you know what they did have? For a little bit of light reading, they had the Odyssey, which was, freaking thick as hell.
Yeah.
I'll just read this, Dad. I'm like, okay.
I
We're gonna-
haven't read all the Odyssey. I haven't gotten through the Iliad. I mean, I'm like, I'll just do the cliff notes.
I mean, my daughter's 14, turning 15, much to my irritation. I told her she had her last birthday last year. She's not allowed to get any older than she is now. Hey, Bruce.
Hey,
You
what's
wanna-
up, Bruce? Long time no see, man.
I'm gonna throw him a
what,
link
like
too.
one day?
'Cause I'm in a giving mood. Oh God. Have you
Okay,
been
I don't know
drinking
what that
today?
means.
What?
I don't even know what to think of that.
Well, I need to figure out how to use Foundry if I'm going to be running you through an Alien game.
I can't actually wait for the Alien TV series.
You know, well, here's the problem. I'd be really excited about it, but they've screwed up so much before. It's just like I'd rather just hear after the fact than where they say it's hey, it's a good game or not, or a good series or not.
Good series.
Because if you don't see it, like, I never saw it, I'm good.
There's a couple of movies coming out I'm looking forward to, much to the Shadows de May. I like how they've gone retro with Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
1960s feel. If you look at the
okay.
aesthetic, it's very 1960s kind of the what is it with Audrey Hepburn? If you look at a lot of that style and very that modern postmodern.
Is this the? Hold on a second.
It's the new one. It's the one coming out this year.
Why the shit can I not? Oh, duh, because I'm
The
stupid.
Fantastic Four car looks like it came out of Tomorrow World. Hey, Bruce.
No.
Long time no see.
Donald, Shadow.
How's it going there, Bruce?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. One of my, Angry Cops, the influencer out of New York State, the drill sergeant cop over in Rochester, Buffalo area.
Yeah.
Angry Cops?
Yeah, Angry Cops. He's a big guy with unsub and unsubscribe and all them. He's a detective, and he's part of the school district investigations, and found out that the school district covered up a fucking child assault of a particular nature, and now the Buffalo school district is going ape shit. It made front page news in Buffalo's Channel 7 website, so I'm kind of watching that. Looking pretty impressive.
What gets me about the whole thing is what makes you think that it's okay to cover that crap up?
I don't know. The fucking school district came out and said these are all untruths. They haven't. They said that before, like they had time to even watch a 37-minute video where he explains what, when, where, why, and how. And it's very unusual. I wouldn't think that they would want to do that, but man, they are
All right.
living the FAFO life.
It's time to bring out the wood chipper.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, I wanted to go back to the Fantastic Four thing.
Right.
Is this the Fantastic Four movie that's going to turn him into a her?
Well, the reason, okay, I get that, but that's not the same universe.
Are we sure?
Yes, we are sure.
Okay.
It's a multiverse. Multiverse dictates, even in science and real science, that in five universes from center, I could be a female. Now I'm probably a very ugly, mean, lesbian me, but there is that possibility.
I never met a mean lesbian before. No.
It's the multiverse. All things are possible.
It's funny because they don't start out that way. Just saying.
They really don't, but an absence of dick really makes them sour.
Vitamin D deficiency is a killer.
or too much of.
I wouldn't know about that.
I've never been accused of giving too much. I am a stingy MF. Whenever I start realizing something has a value and a currency, I restrict. You've played my games, Colin. Come on now.
Yeah. Either
Yep.
way, I don't mind that it's not the main 616 universe. It's a multiverse, and that Silver Surfer is not going to stick around for very long.
And from
It's
what I understand, like it's supposed to be quote unquote our Earth.
no. The way the way a guy I listened to talk has been talking about is a huge comic historian, and it'll be what it be. I hope it's not our Earth, because well, I want a refund. I was listening to this guy saying how we live in the Matrix too. The scientists are actually talking about that this is all a simulation. I'm like, if that's the case, I want to talk to my programmer. I got some complaints.
Well, that's called God.
Yeah.
Okay, I got some complaints.
Don't we all? But
I don't want to be
not much they can
Neil.
do about it.
I don't want to be that guy. I just want to be happy.
As Jim Morrison once said, one of the only wise things he ever did say was, "You cannot petition the Lord through prayer." So,
I am not going to complain about being a short king. I'm pretty happy at 5'6", and I don't care. It was never a hindrance for me. Oh, if a woman rejected me because I was too short, I recognized that like she had a slight amount of mental retardation because she would feel that something that was an immutable characteristic was something that I could control, which is exactly the definition of what an immutable characteristic is not. Like you're too black, you're too white. Like you can control this shit,
right?
And I just I
kind
know
of suffer with being too fucking handsome. You don't hear me complaining.
exactly, So I'm just vocalizing that like I always thought it was hilarious because you could weed women out with your height or with your girth, and you could weed them out. You could get rid of the ones that were just completely useless. Like, oh, okay, so you're in the arm candy designation. That's it. That's all you're good for. That's awesome.
You know, the easy way to do it is tell me the ingredients that go into the spaghetti sauce.
I'd say that about lasagna, but I get your point.
Hey, it's not that much different. But my whole point is, if you can't cook, what else do you bring?
Yeah. Well, I don't have much relationship experience, admittedly, but my understanding is, being able to cook will make up for a lot of shortcomings, including looks.
It does. I mean, that's what I heard too.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, okay. And because I went out with a few women and they said, when I like to cook, but as soon as I said, hey, what do you like to cook? Because that was on their profile, they would suddenly shut up and dodge the question. Like, you're, well, one was, I think 40, one was 38. And you just went, how can you not do some of these things? How is this so hard to dodge? It's one thing, especially if you put it in your dating profile.
Yeah.
I mean, not to be incredibly crude or anything, the things I'm looking for on my date, I was like, let's be honest about it. I'm a fat guy, but I know how to cook because I'm fat. I also know how to do a few things. And, to be honest, I like to find one that says, I'm okay. I guess I'm okay giving hand jobs, but I'm really good at giving head. But,
You're
Someone's
looking on
gotta
the wrong
clip
dating
that,
site.
just saying, Bruce, you want to clip that for later?
Probably should.
Hey, that's no worse than what happened to Connell's character the first weekend. He decided to bow out because we didn't know he wasn't coming back right away. He ended up getting a glory hole from a very ugly dwarf.
Oh, hey, to be fair, it takes two trusting people to make a glory hole work.
That is true.
Sounds like you've got some experience.
No, well, that's not true. I don't have experience, but I've been told by somebody Oh, that was you, Shaw. That was in the very beginning. You were
Yeah,
telling me about your earlier
has a
adventures in rock and roll land. I mean, how else do you look like Sean Penn?
Jesus.
No, Jesus had nothing to do with that.
I wouldn't, I have to like really have a low opinion of somebody if I bring that guy's name into a conversation.
Who's?
Hey,
Sean Penn.
Oh yeah, fuck that guy.
I've been saying he
His
looks like
wife
Sean
and
Penn.
any
since,
offspring they have, they can all go die in a fire.
Look, just because you have evil Sean Penn in Shadow and Sean Penn normal, they've somehow merged into the Star Trek universe. You
I'm about to break into hysterics because somebody's trying to convince me there's a good Sean Penn.
know?
What is this, like Spicoli that would just never came out of character?
Well, listening to Shadow in his early days, apparently that was true.
Hey, glorious results of a misspent youth, right here.
Hey, I'm not knocking. I really don't care. At the end of the day, you're just like, what the hell happened to you? It's so funny watching these people. Like, you were normal before. Well, I'm not saying he was ever normal, but you know what I mean. These
Mhm.
people kind of went on the normal track and then they veered off into,
Yeah.
My favorite is listening to someone like Madonna talking about how society has degraded so much. And I went, yes, you were part of that reason for that.
I was just gonna say,
70 million albums later, and you don't think you had an influence? Please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Madonna. I always thought she was a hack.
Mm.
All right, listen up, Bubbles.
If it isn't heavy metal or rock and roll, I pretty much haven't heard it.
I'm pretty certain that you've been in a shopping experience in a retail environment, and you may not have known it, but it was Madonna singing to you.
Oh, have you seen?
Oh, not around here. The average
have you-
song around here is "Highway to Hell."
Have
Not
you?
joking.
What movie am I thinking about? Have you seen Deadpool and Wolverine?
Not
No.
yet. My parents watched it. They said it was totally worth a watch. I just don't get into modern movies that easily, but my parents are also a little more questionable. They like movies you like, so it's like, eh.
It was a fun movie. It did all the callbacks. I like the fact that they were bringing back the ones that should have been. I like the fact they brought back Wesley Snipes as Blade. They did.
Yeah, that bit I did not see that scene, but I've heard of it. That is awesome. And the big one that bugged me is someone tried to say that Henry Cavill should be the next Wolverine. Fuck no, he's too pretty to be Wolverine. Even I know Wolverine's supposed to be a short, ugly guy.
Well,
they did Cavill as Wolverine, and it was pretty good.
I used to have the same argument about Hugh Jackman, saying Hugh Jackman's just way too fucking big to play Wolverine. He's too tall, right?
Yeah.
Then in the Deadpool Wolverine movie, they did the comic accurate version of Wolverine. I'm like, I'll no longer argue with it anymore. I'm fine with this.
I started watching it, but I stopped. It just didn't feel like it was like in that same trilogy as the first two movies.
Oh, it's
It doesn't have to be. It's just meant to be fun and ridiculous. And I'm like, okay, that's the whole reason of it's worth watching Deadpool, especially as he makes all the Ryan Reynolds jokes.
Oh God, he's getting sued. He's getting sued because of that movie too.
Yeah, I actually I don't know if it's true, but I've heard that Disney has banned him from making movies in their name anymore because of that movie.
No, it's not true.
No, it's not true because you know what? Disney likes money.
That's fair.
Disney, I mean, Kevin Folk, however the fuck you say his last name, is basically said in interviews that bringing Deadpool and Wolverine back is on their to-do list, more or less because of how much fucking money that they made it. Of course, they have him on us. They will have him on a leash of some sort, I'm sure, because I mean, fuck.
Well, if they put him on a leash, then it won't be a good movie.
Not necessarily true.
Well, he fought and fought to get what was made. And I know who was the lady that did She-Hulk was trying to sue because she wanted to
Oh,
be in there? He's like, no, we're not putting you in the director's cut.
yeah, no. I mean, She-Hulk was fine as a TV show. It actually felt a
Yeah.
great deal like the fucking comics.
Oh, so she banged everything that moved. Got
Oh,
it.
She-Hulk is a whore.
I was hoping they would go to that version of She-Hulk.
And they kind of did in the TV show as much as they possibly could. I
Oh.
mean, Wolverine, there's a comic book where she was trying to sleep with Wolverine and she just got done sleeping with the Juggernaut like a couple issues beforehand. She's like, I don't do Juggernaut's sloppy seconds. So
Yeah,
Makes sense.
that's well.
What was it?
Here's what I don't understand. And I just heard about this. Apparently, they were for a few screenings. They were showing the original Star Wars, the original theatrical
Oh yeah.
version. And I went,
Yeah, I heard about that.
why isn't Disney trying to release the original theatrical version? Say, hey guys, you don't have to care about us, but here's the original theatrical with none of the special effects from the '90s as it was originally sent.
I've heard they're doing that, now.
Well, I've heard that they released it only in the UK at one theater that had some of the old, the film, but I don't know if Disney's going to do it itself. For some reason, they're allergic to money when it comes to Star Wars.
Well, that's because as much as Disney likes money, they are proven with many of their other IPs where they think they have influence over people, they will push the message above making money.
Yeah.
And Star Wars, if you like it or not, is a heavy cultural influence.
Well, here's some of it is, well, there are two things. One is one of the, what was it, Bob, whoever the current president is, he wanted to run for president. Number one is in the Democratic Party. Number two is a lot of the hedge funds are investing, if you invest heavily in DEI. And so to keep their stock price up, they were pushing a lot of that crap. And I went, that sounds great that you care about the stock price, but revenue matters more than stock price.
Oh yeah.
And now, they're bleeding out. It's like, I didn't realize how much money they made from their theme parks, but their theme parks are really where the money is.
And their theme parks are fucking obnoxiously expensive.
They are now. They weren't so bad back in the day because Walt Disney wanted people to go to the theme parks because Walt Disney said, if we build this up, and I look at my friends, I have a few of my friends, they have all their childhood memories because they went with their parents. And then as they got older, they went with their, now they've become parents. So they went with their kids and then they're still going with their parents. It was a long-term family thing. Instead, they're trying to squeeze out. Oh, well, we'll just get this group. Like, well, you're squeezing out the families. And if you aren't building those traditions with your family, then guess what? You're not going to get those repeat customers for 5 or 10 years.
Or more.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like well, it's actually exactly like Warhammer. I have said more than once, Warhammer has always been Warhammer has gone up in prices by the value of the dollar. So Warhammer has always been expensive. You just didn't notice until recently. However, on the same hand, manufacturing has not actually gone up to equal to the value of the dollar like the plastic has. So actually, they're still actually making more money than they were before. So they actually could charge less for them than they used to. By comparison.
I saw them actually show the list, and they were showing that they were actually losing market share.
Well, that's because they're not selling.
No. This was long before. This was long before. That was actually showing this. We're talking like 10 or 15 years ago.
Oh, yeah. This is before I got into it. So
no, they were trying to up the price because there were enough fans that were buying the models that they said, well, we would rather have less fans and make more per unit than actually have it go out there. And now they make so much money on the IP. The IP is where a lot of the money is to be made. It's not from the toys or the selling. The RPG was really good and they backed it up, but there's no money in RPGs. You know, if you want to start off, if you're lucky, you'll make a little bit of money. But if you can get that IP out there, that's where you make the money for your TV shows and your video games and everything else.
Oh yeah, I have no doubts of that. I'm just saying, like in the end, it's like overpriced on purpose at this point.
Yes, actually, part of the reason that Warhammer didn't sell, like I heard Dreadfleet, they had thousands of copies. I mean, like thousands upon thousands of copies, and they destroyed them. They destroyed them rather than selling them at a discount.
Yeah, there was another one. Fuck. It was along the Space Hulk series. I think it was like or was it the fantasy? Either way, there was one that they like. The first one they put out was really, really spectacular, and they're like, "Oh yeah," but they only did a limited run. And when they decided to finally get around to making more, the hype for it originally had died out, and they literally had tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of product just sitting in warehouses.
That was Dreadfleet.
There was actually a second one like that. That wasn't fleet based. That was
you mean like
Manowar? Oh, sorry, what?
You mean Manowar?
I might have been. It was either the sci-fi or the fantasy, but it was not ship based. It was skirmish, I think.
You mean like Mordheim or Necromunda?
Yeah, because something like Necromunda, but by the time that Gorka Morka, that's what it was.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Saying that reminded me of the name.
Well, you know, a lot of it is, and this is where, because I remember the 90s, I think Hasbro, or Milton Bradley, which is owned by Hasbro, they decided to, they did a lot of, they would print off stuff like HeroQuest and stuff. And then, but as it became more boutique, they said if we suddenly start selling this at a discount price, then the perceived value goes down, and they're, you know, hey, we're a luxury product. We don't want poor people buying our product. It's really the idea that they have. And the same thing happens whenever you look at a lot of these high-end, you know, like Louis Vuitton and stuff. If they have too much, they won't sell it at a discount. They'd rather destroy it just to make sure that that perceived value remains high.
I heard today that a lot of these bags that women carry around, the Louis Vuitton Coach, it cost them like $1,400 to get the right leather composition for the purses before they start putting
we're talking like we're not talking like tan done and all that. No, we're talking like it was tanned in, well, we'll get real specific here. It was tanned in sheep's brain. No, we'll go real expensive. It was tanned in whale's brain, which is actually a tanning method, which is part of the reason why whales are still hunted. And then it was treated with probably I forgot what urine is it, but it's a urine from actually a fairly common animal, but it's not commonly used because it stinks. And then it was more than likely hand skived to a very specific level because machines can create divots if not done properly. And then probably hand selected for the individual piece before being sent off to the person making it. Mind you, and the entire piece can be thrown out if there's so much as a scar on it, because the scar can actually affect the rest of the leather, like the way it'll stretch and the way it'll move, because the way it healed during the animal's life.
Well, I don't know if you saw the one guy who was taking real bags and he would cut them apart and then create a new bag out of it. And he got sued by the companies, even though he used their bags. I mean, it was, you know, but yeah, they were suing him because he had the moniker and the whatever on there, even though he was using, and he showed everything he did to cut up these bags and convert them into a new bag. And they were like, no, you can't do that. So he had to take off whether it was Louis Vuitton or whatever other.
I can see him having to take off the logo, but not necessarily not making the product.
No, he can make the product, but he wasn't allowed to have the logo on there, even though he used all of their logo, they're real bags. So,
right.
He's like, oh, okay, I'll just cut this apart and I'll do this, and then he might make like a patchwork or something. It was interesting looking, but yeah, he got sued for that. Like, you can't put our logo on there. It's like, well, they're still your bags. It's just,
Oh yeah. It's like I think because of the ones I've been seeing recently, I think Games Workshop has completely given up. But Games Workshop used to be really bad for hunting down 3D printers for 3D printing files that even resembled anything from Warhammer. But they've been popping up so much lately. I think they either given up or just can't keep up with it.
well, they sued several companies that even use the word Space Marine. That's why it's now Adeptus Astartes.
Yeah.
In there is because they can copyright that, but they would try to, if you use the word Space Marine, no matter how you used it, like, wait a minute, Space Marine goes back to the 1930s. You can't copyright that.
Yeah, there's actually a game that predates Games Workshop by 10 or 15 years called Space Marines, and I am trying to find a copy.
I always laugh because
Games.
Warhammer 40K intentionally, if you actually look at it, stole from everywhere anyway. They stole from Dune, they stole from Starship Troopers, and they were
Hell, they stole from the Bible.
Oh, well, yeah, but they did everything unabashedly. And then also to come back and act like, oh, no, this is completely new, fresh new IP. And like, no, it's not. I have the original Rogue Trader book. And they said, hey, if you want to do this, you can do this. Yeah, it was meant to be a universal system. But, that's back in the day when I actually wanted a war game that could be a war game rather than whatever it is now.
Yeah.
I think my favorite published war game is still Warlord, because Warlord, it's by Reaper, and it has a kind of a wonky engine to it, but it's the only war game, it's skirmish level, and it heavily encourages you making funny voices and role-playing as the dice are rolled for each character. That's the only one I've ever seen where they actually do that in the rules. They encourage it in both editions.
Yeah, I've never actually played a war game, so I got no real opinion on even the older or the new ones.
I mean, I like, these are solo, war games, but I kind of like what I read in these.
Yeah,
because it has that RPG element with the rules. Like, oh, okay,
What game are you talking about?
5 parsecs from home or 5 leagues to the Borderlands.
Yeah, I picked up 5 parsecs. I think is that the one I picked up?
I think you did.
Yeah, it looks fun, but I got no one to play with it.
It's a solo RPG. It's a solo wargaming. It literally says that.
Okay.
See, you can play with yourself.
Right there,
Yeah,
solo
it's not
adventure wargaming.
Yeah, but I don't trust myself, so.
But I mean, you're going to cheat on yourself.
But
oh my god.
But you can start doing all that, the rules and everything. I was like, okay, that's cool.
With my fading memory, how would I ever even know?
those are good.
Yeah.
Banana.
Oh, I like the body. You know what I really don't like is they used to have this. Was it the strawberry lemonade? And they got rid of it. I was like, why?
I know there's so many flavors of different drinks. It's like, oh, this is so amazing. And then, next year it's like, what happened to it? Oh, they discontinued it. Why? It wasn't popular. I never found it on the store shelf. Wasn't popular, my ass.
Well, a lot of it is I think they're expensive because I did the same thing with the lemonade. And every time I noticed that they would get rid of the lemonade, I don't care whether it was Gatorade, when they used to have Gatorade ice, the clear, and it was they got rid of the lemonade for that one, and that was my favorite. They got rid of.
Do you guys know that back in the day when Gatorade first came out, it had like 3 ingredients. Now it's got like 33 ingredients,
and they're all
salt and food dye.
Yeah. I'm thinking that those one-off soft drinks are like basically radioactive waste, and they got rid of them. Yeah. And they're not bringing them back until they make some more radioactive waste.
Yeah, I really wouldn't know about really wouldn't know about the ingredients of those type of drinks because as a kid, my drink of choice was sugar, water, purple.
Oh, you mean Kool-Aid?
Yep.
The bug juice.
I grew up in Tang.
When I was dungeon mastering in the I want to say the 90s, I would all my friends were broke ass, individuals, including
All
myself.
gamers are broke ass.
So I would get the Kool-Aid. I forget what flavor it was, like something. It was like a lemonade, but it was blue, and called it GM juice. And my friends never knew what the hell it was, because they were beyond the Kool-Aid drinking age. But I would make like 2 big ass pictures of it, and make some French bread pizzas because it was cheap, and invite the guys over. We'd have a game, and they started calling it GM juice. And to this day, they never knew what the hell they were drinking.
The only reason why we stopped drinking Kool-Aid around here is because they changed their recipe to something that don't taste too good anymore.
That's what I'd use, which is
Protein powder.
the collagen powder.
Say,
Yeah, see,
flavor.
Owen's actually older than I am, but he drinks shit like that, so he doesn't look it.
Well, no, I mean, but the collagen.
Owen.
powder-
So Omen
can
actually
be only
evolved
one.
into what he
Perfect.
is now.
Mm.
There
No,
could be
no,
only
no,
one.
no, no. I came down from the high heavens. I booked the tablets a couple of times. There were actually 25 commandments. You can thank me for only bringing it down to 10.
Gather everyone. God has given us 15. Clunk.
Exactly.
Oy vey. 10 commandments for all to obey. One of the best jokes of that movie.
I like that movie.
they're good.
I heard the second one was terrible, though.
It is.
Yes.
Don't watch that.
Your life of not the life of Brian.
No. The History of the World Volume 2.
Yeah.
It's literally called that. Stay away. I tell you the movie that I just saw that I really liked a lot, and I'd seen it before, but I didn't pay enough attention to it, was Boss Level. If you've seen it,
Oof.
Sounds
meaning to
familiar.
watch that.
it's an interesting version of not Quick Change, but Groundhog Day.
Oh. You know what? I'd like Edge of Tomorrow, which is Groundhog Day with aliens and,
Yeah.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Watching Tom Cruise get eviscerated in that movie over and over and over again with such a joy. That's like every man should watch that movie, because you remember back in the 80s, your girlfriend would get upset because you didn't look like Tom Cruise, or you didn't have the ability to run like Tom Cruise, or whatever it was. Whenever it came to you versus Tom Cruise, you come up short, even though the guy's 5'3".
Oh, imagine what it was like during the era of Chuck Norris.
Chuck was never a big star for the women.
No.
Oh.
Chuck Norris was never. Yeah.
He's just
women didn't care about that.
I didn't even know about the Chuck Norris thing till about a year ago. Then all of a sudden, Chuck Norris everywhere for me. It's like, good God, who the hell is Chuck Norris? I looked up Chuck Norris. It's like, I actually looked up some of the old episodes of Walker, Texas Ranger. It's like, no wonder they make the joke. Chuck Norris punches magic or casts fists. It's like, there's an episode where he comes up against a fucking voodoo witch doctor, and he sees right through the illusion, no issue. It's like, no wonder there's jokes about him.
Those jokes have been since the 1990s.
Yeah,
maybe even before then.
I had a girl date me because when I was younger, she said I looked like Christian Slater. I'm like, okay, all right. I don't see it, but
I would presume she needed glasses, and that's why she left you. Because
I can see it in the face when you smile a certain way, because you've got that. If I was Christian Slater with diabetes, this is what you get.
Hey,
wow.
I'm going for the old Jack Nicholson with the dementia look. Thank you.
If you let your beard and hair grow out, you look like the Jack Black mugshot.
No, he's trying to go for the Robbie Coltrane.
Damn.
In Cracker.
Oh. I can dig that. Aww.
I look like Rick Moranis if Rick Moranis got did steroids and then went with WWE and then just got injured and got fat.
There for a while, I kind of wish I looked like Mel Gibson from Payback.
Bruce, right now you look like the guy from OC Choppers.
Best I can do is diabetes.
Now, the only 2 stars I've ever been accused of looking like was the Pugsley from the bad Adam's Family movie with fucking
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry. Yeah, it's like, okay, I've been called worse because I've also been said I look like Peter, and that is like literally the only time in my life I sucker punch somebody.
The one that always amused me and I could never figure out, people, there was a couple people said I look like, remember that horrible movie, Double Dragon?
I know of it. I haven't seen it.
When I was younger, well, I wasn't, fuck you all, I have not always been fat. Hey, Doc, I look like Marco, God, what the fuck was his name?
Is that Mr. Flamingo? He needs to contact me and give me his stuff for the God Wars.
But, Bruce, you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, he was the guy that was in the movie Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
John Wick Part 3.
I have dark eyebrows, dark eyes, and I tan easy, and I was thin. And I'm like, I guess I kind of see it. Oh my God. Okay, this is before Crafty Gamers time. When I was a kid, I looked like AC Slater.
Ooh.
Vaguely familiar. I know the name, but I can't place the face.
Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
Are you not familiar with Saved by the Bell crafting?
I don't think so,
It's
no.
okay if you aren't.
Yeah,
It's
it's probably a little bit before your
his
time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as no one says I look like a Jeepers Creeper monster, I guess I'm okay.
I'd take that as a compliment.
That's fucked up. That was one homely motherfucker.
It's a shame that the fucking director turned out to be such a fucking shitbag.
Yeah, that guy's
Yeah.
a piece of shit. The other movie he
there's
made
like-
that I can't
there's actually-
stand is Powder.
Has anybody seen any of the other like Jeeper Creepers past number 2? Because there's like 5 of them.
I've seen all the Jeeper Creepers, and to be honest, if I was going to say this is the order you need to watch them, you watch the first one, you watch the second one, then you just get off the fucking boat.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. Because the second one ended perfectly for either a short online video of the father retaking out the demon, or just left as is. Because you know the father is waiting out there every day with his fucking gun, waiting for that thing to twitch.
Right. I have so many issues with that movie. It's like, wait, at the very end, where Jeepers Creepers, when he goes back into hibernation, I'm like, why didn't you just find different ways to fucking destroy the fucking body? Why are you fucking waiting? Why haven't you already fucking, But wait, that makes too much fucking common sense for fucking movies, so never mind.
Well, a concept I presume is that the body would be hardened to things such like explosions and fire, while especially its own knife could penetrate its flesh. If you notice, bullets basically bounce off it, but if a spear hit it, it went through it.
I don't know. There was a comic. There was actually a graphic comic that came out giving a little bit more of a history of it. It was actually really good.
Yeah,
Brotherhood
I'm
of
understanding it
Wolf.
was good. Oh, I love that movie. I grew up with that movie.
Did we review that movie, Shadow?
We did.
Brotherhood of the Wolf. Yeah, we did.
God, it's such a great fucking movie.
I recall I was not a big fan.
I wish I could read it fast enough to do it, to read the
There's
French-
an
to do the
English
French
version of it, but it
Oh
kinda-
yeah, I my grandmother had the one that had both on DVD, but but I could not read fast enough to keep it the French version. But everyone who loves that movie says the French version just makes the movie so much better.
Well, I hate dubbed more than anything, with the exception of anime, because it's already dubbed anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just hate trying to look at their lips moving, and it's like it just takes me out of it. I'd rather read the subtitles.
Yeah. My question is for you gentlemen, because sometime this year, my New Year's resolution for myself was I was going to try to get past season 1 of Babylon 5.
Good.
Now, if I just put it on in the background without the volume on, does that count?
No.
No.
Damn it!
Well, and to be fair, it starts getting season 1 probably starts getting better when you get around the last 4 or 5 episodes when they get Zathras.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because there's and that ties into season 3, and some of the things are going in there. You start, Straczynski did a good job of laying down the framework for things. And yeah,
I mean,
it's a
I've
hard
heard
watch.
so many things about that show.
It's a hard watch for the first season, but what you really need to do is just say, okay, I'm going to watch one episode a day, and you can get through it in a week, in a month, and then you're like, oh, it really starts picking up. And
because
yeah,
of the lounge, there's enough guys there. It's like last night we had a bachelor party at the lounge, plus the NFL draft was on last night, so I ended up watching the draft, which I'm not a football guy by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm trying to not so much fit in, but understand what the fuck they're talking about. So it's not so much of a fucking foreign language. Hey, Raven, and
What's up,
bringing
Raven?
back to TV shows, they will fucking quote, and a lot of these guys are older than I am. I mean, anywhere from 10 to 20 years older than I am. Hey, Raven, but fucking Seinfeld quotes all the fucking time.
yeah. Well,
And
Seinfeld was actually really good. I did enjoy
I
it.
never watched Seinfeld, so I've had to break down, and I'm like, I need to watch Seinfeld, and I really don't want to because I wasn't impressed with it as a teenager. Unless I'll have a great epiphany, I'm like, oh, this is so much more amazing as an adult. I don't think I'm going to enjoy it. I really, really don't.
I didn't enjoy. I'll be honest. I enjoyed Seinfeld the later seasons than I did the beginning seasons, where he was,
Right.
the initial seasons he was doing his own. He was doing little stand up bits, and then he got rid of that because he said it was just too hard to do those for every show. And I said, oh, okay, but I enjoyed that, and some of the things are just. I still love the suit Nazi.
All right. I know enough of Seinfeld.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen bits and pieces of the show over the years. I'm like, I know who the Soup Nazi is. That he was the master of the idea I have of making a food truck.
Yeah.
And not no seafood, but you have to spell it Nazi, not seafood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I joked around.
Yeah,
Go for it.
I never watched Seinfeld, but I kept hearing stories of the soup Nazi, which eventually, for some reason, got the idea in my. At one point, I tried to join Bruce's high level game. I realized after a little while, it's like, okay, this game is coming to an end. At first, I was like, oh, Bruce just does. Yeah, true. No, it's like for a while, it's like Bruce doesn't want me part of the high level game. I understand. Then I realized, oh, this thing's starting to come to an end. Bruce doesn't want me to get all excited for something that's not going to last much longer. Got it.
Well, not only that, but like that group, I still have some people that are there that are very much like not wanting to have individuals
Outsiders
from the web
that's
on
fair.
there. Like they had a problem with Shadow. They initially had a problem with Janet. They had a problem with fucking Connell, and over time, like it's kind of gone down just to one person, which it's Chris, but he's loosened up a little bit on Janet and Connell, but he's still very much anti. I don't want to be on YouTube. I don't want to have an audience.
Yeah.
I want to play the game and not worry about an audience. And I'm like, we could possibly do that. That's fine. But I'm also bringing out a brand new system, and I do want an audience for that.
Mhm.
If I ever run another existing game again, no, I won't have an audience. But if I'm going to be debuting my own system, you bet your ass I'm going to have people watching. I want people to put their eyes on that and just see how fun a D100 system can be.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
actually, no.
it's kind of unrealistic to ask you to not do that. I mean,
Well, Chris has I understand Chris's point. It's like imagine if you're playing D&D or whatever in a college, right? You're in a dorm and you're somebody's dorm in college or the library or wherever, right? Not a shop, but a dorm or whatever. And hey, you want to sit down and play? Cool, that's awesome. Let's build you a character. Versus, hey, I'm just going to watch you guys play, which I personally don't care, but I can understand where other people just find that to be distracting.
yeah, it's hard. I run a game live and I run a game not live, and the game that I run live is a traveler game, which is an easy game to run, and it's only got 4 or 5 people, so it's easier. But like the game I run on Sundays, it's got like 7 with possible 2 more wanting in, and I'm just like, yeah, there's no way I'm doing that live. It's just
No, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and you have to have good audio. You have to have good visual. I mean, there's a lot more if you can put stuff in online. And I think that's something a lot of people forget about. But yeah, it's
Like we're having that
Well, I
issue.
accidentally went down a rabbit hole about soup Nazis.
We're actually having that problem with the audio visual with Travis because Travis will, in the middle of the game, he mutes and goes and sees how his girlfriend is doing. And then, we're going around the roster for combat. And Travis, you there, man? Travis? Fuck. All right, delay his shit. Okay. Travis.
yeah,
are you
there's
there?
private chats and things like that to alert everybody. Hey, I'm going to be AFK. Just
Gaming in person, which we don't have the opportunity to do quite yet, but gaming in person will always be 10 times better than gaming online. And this is not a dig at you, Bruce.
I'm not saying it's a dig. I moved out of state. I get it.
Once again, I mean, I would love for there to be a oh man, no, I love for there to be a way for me to teleport, not Star Trek because that's murder. Teleport
It's
from
not
here.
murder if you have a soul.
No, it's still
I mean, if
murder.
you don't have a soul.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
if you don't have a soul, your body gets completely disconstructed and you're dead. And then you get reconstructed and you're alive again. No. If you have a soul, all your energy is sucked up into your soul, and then it is recombobulated in the next space. And now, before anybody says, well, Star Trek doesn't have a soul, the Q proved that there are souls because they are energy beings. And to have an energy of being, to hold something together, you have to have an energy source. And that is the soul.
Well,
And now you know why I don't like Star Trek.
Okay.
Anyway,
If there was a way for me to get to Texas every 2 weeks that wasn't $666 to fly down there,
there's a way. I found the way, Connell.
huh?
You move there. I'll meet you there in a couple of years.
No, I don't want. Nobody wants me in Texas.
We're just scared you're going to vote Democrat like Austin.
Yeah.
I don't vote. You know who
he doesn't vote.
I don't. You know who I voted for the last?
Mickey
Time?
Mouse, Cthulhu.
No, I'm 35 years old. I'm a U.S. born citizen. I vote for myself because I know between dumb and dumber, I wasn't going to do any worse.
Wouldn't it be hilarious, though, if Cthulhu was actually voted in as president?
I mean,
Hey.
all those supplements.
That's how you bring about the apocalypse.
Well,
Just
no,
saying.
there's actually a funny little story about this. I forgot where I read this, but I was able to verify this. For 4 years, like an entire term, a entire province, county, an entire county had their leader, whatever the fuck that guy is called, was a dead guy.
Sounds like Illinois.
Oh, that sounds like
there's a
Missouri.
lot of that going around.
That was Missouri.
there's-
Oh, Missouri. Okay,
there's-
Bruce knows the story I'm telling you about. And actually, the most hilarious part is not only was a dead guy voted in, more shit was done during his term than all the terms before his.
Because his
Doesn't
wife.
necessarily mean that's a good thing. hey guys, the government's done more than normal. I'm like, are you sure you really want that?
Hey guys, I gotta hit the road. I got church in
Alright.
the morning early.
Yeah.
So I will see you guys when I see you. Omen, you're gonna be there tomorrow?
That's my plan, and I'm not done. I don't think I'll be there the week after, though. Just to let you know.
Okay.
So I got to go. I usually have to go. I have to go do inspections. Usually, I leave early in the morning.
Do you still have to, write email to 5 things you've done that week?
You mean
Secret guys.
you mean the same crap
Yeah.
that I had to do when I was in the private sector?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I always laugh because people are like, "Oh, this is so terrible," and I talk to everyone that actually worked outside of government. Like, really, this is it? This is what people are complaining about? I'm like, we had to do this every time. He said we used to have meetings and we'd have to say everything that they did the previous week in the meeting. I'm like, yeah, I don't understand what's so hard about it. You put in like, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this. If you aren't doing 5 things, then you probably should either not have a job or you should be trying to ask your boss to give you more stuff to do.
I
If you're a halfway decent player, that's pretty much what you do as a player in a RPG too.
Oh my God.
Nah, you don't have to do that.
I
Well,
would
no,
be,
I'm not referring to like being that bad, but like Janet occasionally does. I'm trying to get her to do a little more often. I try to every single time we get ready to game. I spend the at least previous hour before the game trying to watch the last hour of the previous game so I can remember what was happening.
Hey, Connell, what did we do last game? I didn't die. Anything else? Nothing else matters.
Well, sometimes it's just
Actually, that's not true. I did die last game.
Everybody
You know what?
died last game.
She
Don't
died, he died, everybody died.
Well, not everybody, but
Travis went off the ethereal plane.
There's a reason once, it's like a couple levels ago, I'm like, death is a minor hiccup at this level. We just got to make sure we have something for the spell to work. Yeah. So, hey, Chris, yeah, I'm going to have Jeeps go around, take a piece of some hair from each of the characters. Why? True res. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I was going to say something about Chris, though. I enjoy Chris. And I think I got on Chris's good side the moment he realized I was a Dresden fan.
Yeah.
I mean, me and him really don't argue. We don't argue that. We don't actually argue at all. The only person I've ever argued with doesn't play with us anymore. And that wasn't Shadow.
I'm playing a game and sometimes I'm like, okay, this is the action I want to do. Like, well, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, do I see something? Well, blah, blah, blah. Just give me a yes or no. Let you know what I'm going to do. And it's like, okay, I'm doing this. And then, all right. They're like, and what are you going to do? I just told you 5 minutes ago what I was going to do. Sometimes that's what I find frustrating as a player.
Well, I got this DM, Finn. He's been a really good friend of mine for a long time. He's not technically, how should I put this? He is my daughter's godfather. We're really close, right? And he has such a type personality, fucking pain in my ass. And I hate, no offense to anybody in this chat or watching this, I don't do well with A type personalities. I just don't.
Well, if we're doing in combat, I'm like, do this. Just do something. Stop trying to,
Right.
Well, I get frustrated when I ask something like, okay, but this happened in Shadow's game. I was asking one of the druid, and I was like, all right, are you going to be taking animal summoning? Because I have animal growth. I need to know this to see if it's worth taking this spell. And he went through a dissertation of 15 minutes of, well, if I take this spell, or I take this spell, or I take this spell, and I went, okay, I'm taking Wall of Force. It's like, get to the damn point. Just tell me yes or no.
No, the reason I was going with Finn is there for a while. We get back to this game like once a month. Every 4 weeks would be his turn.
Yeah.
And he'll ask, "Hey, what did we do last time we gamed?" I'm like, "Dude, that was a month ago." Well, I'm not going to take notes. You all need to take notes. I'm like, right.
This is one thing I do like about online is in the Foundry, or at least I did when I was running it, is I would put in what they had done the previous week. And so if anyone went through, like, read the damn journal. Like, well, what do we do? It's in the damn journal.
We got better. We've gotten really good at the end of the game with Roll20, we'll write down all the important notes in the chat. And when we reload back up on that game, it's there.
Well, no, but I'd be the DM and I'd write stuff down. And I'd put like all those items they gotten and everything else. I said, look, guys, you're welcome to embellish it. And, because mine's going to be pretty much matter of fact. I said, go ahead and make it like into a story. That's what you have. And some of that was for my own benefit, was to make sure I was remembering what occurred. It's like, okay, let's do that. But yeah, it's just, this is the problem of whenever you start becoming where you always want to be the DM. It's like, I'm a forever DM. And you realize that's because I'm kind of a control freak. It's like, I got to let it go.
Me and Blaine love to be DMs all the time. We'd rather be DMs than players because when you put yourself in the player slot, Like sometimes you get things like, oh yeah, we're gonna play riffs, but we're not really playing riffs. We're playing a homebrew of what I think it should be like. And then you start to play, and it's like a 8-year-old kid's version of what riffs should be like based on the cover art, but it's got no depth. It's got all the breadth of a fucking puddle.
Oh, you mean Savage
well, if
World?
it's the original cover art, it won't be so bad. I mean, it's tentacles and blind warrior women with big old
The
titties.
blind
So.
warrior women, like, you have to understand, when I first saw the blind warrior chicks, I had like hours upon fucking footage in my mental movie of me and them having a great menage a trois.
Oh.
That probably powered me for my like most of my teen and 20 years.
I just looked at it and I was like, oh, cool. I like seeing the monster. Like, all right, so you have slave women on a barge. All right, it's time to free them and say, well, these kind of look like bitches, but they can die too. But no, at the end of the day, I was just, the more that I dealt with riffs, the more it bugged me, at the point that I just do not have favorable impression of riffs for the system.
What you have to do is, like, you literally have to zone in on one county or parish within the world and ignore everything else, including all the other books involved.
Yeah, it's well, the problem I had was, oh, well, you can't bring MDC weapons. Right? Who's going to take it from me? Yeah, that's part of it. They're like, well, you have to put those over. Like, no one's going to stop you if you come into there. That was one. The other part
That's
is
part of part of the game. Like, it even says that in the main book. Like, the majority of riffs is you wandering around from place to place, getting a little bit of XP here and there, and then you bump into a small town where there's a guy with like a couple mechanized suits of armor, or maybe he's got like a MDC vehicle and he's a warlord, and you will either best him or depose him or take his nice things, and then you'll move on. And that's the majority of the time that you play.
I hated.
Go ahead.
I hated the DBs. Everything had MDC damage and MDC health. I was like, look, it makes no sense, because then you can't, with humans being out there, there just wasn't enough out there. I was like, okay,
that's actually kind of supposed to be the point. The thing that's
and it sucks. Is my point.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that you also have to, I will. Anybody who disagrees with me is welcome to. I'm 100% with Heathen Dog. The only way riffs actually make sense is if the coalition are the good guys, because they are the only ones that are out there trying to save humanity. So what you end up having to do, if you want it to make more sense, is give the coalition a bigger chunk of power than the book gives them, and then everything kind of makes a lot more sense.
No, that wasn't my problem. My problem really comes down to was the sheer numbers in there.
Oh, sheer number. Okay, yeah.
The sheer
If
number
you're gonna go mathematician, then yeah, I could tell you the numbers don't make any sense.
Yeah, well, I mean that's what I'm talking about. Is when I start looking at it, it's like the sheer number of DBs with MDC bugged the hell out of me, and I was like, look, this would be better. Like, I don't mind dragons having MDC. I don't mind some of the giant monsters having it, but when you start looking at, like, oh, well, it's a human figure, and it was so out of whack, because, like, well, I know how to min-max stuff, and I min-max a lot if I'm allowed. That's one of the reasons, oddly enough, I was having Justin roll up my stats, so I could not min-max. It's like, here, you roll this up, Justin. But, those were that's where it just breaks down for me. I said, well, why don't I just be an Atlantean? That's a lot more fun, and I don't die if something sneezes on me. And to be fair, if I was going to change it up, MDC to me would just be 10 times the normal damage, so you could survive a laser blast. But say, guess what? MDC only can hurt MDC. That's fine. But if you get hit by an MDC weapon, it's times 10 instead of having by 100. It's like, all right, that works easier. So you could survive.
Well, it depends. Like, as a GM, it depends on the field of the game I'm going for. If I'm going for this is just your average apocalypse, I'll tell everybody, make MDC characters, because you're going to be your average character. If I want the gritty, dark, well, one shot, you're dead, period, then yeah, you're playing humans.
Yeah, but again, my whole thing is that just the way that the game works, I would do times 10 because
Oh
a lot
yeah,
of times
I see what you're saying.
yeah, that's
Well,
it's not that, it's
I
not that I
always
don't want
felt
the
that
weapons to
the
do heavy damage. It's just the other part is it was ever escalating.
I didn't directly mind mega damage. My big issue with it is that there's no in between. It's just regular damage. Boom, you're dead damage. It's like
Well, exactly.
it's,
It was too much, is what I was trying to
I
say.
believe there always should have been a moderate. One of the things that they lie in the book. I mean, I've watched Heathen Dog never says this, but he almost does it a few times. They lie blatantly in the book when they say NDC is rare.
I know.
NDC is rare for humans, not in the world.
MDC's all over the place. That was my problem with Rifts. Is MDC was too common. Um, and again, like I said, is if I was going to do it, I would just do times 10. And actually, when I was hearing him interview Sean and Kevin, he's like, well, yeah, you can just change it up. And I was like, well, that's fine. But sometimes it's hard to get the players. This is what it comes down to whenever you get a custom system.
Yeah.
You can do tweaks around the edges, but when you start changing like fundamental aspects, people really get frustrated with it.
It's like Maxiello saying, well, oh, I don't have to have players. Well, then I guess you're not going to have players. Well, good. I guess I'm not going to have players. It's like, you are one self-righteous jackass. You know that, right?
It's not even self-righteous. The problem is like, then you're not playing. Guess what?
Exactly.
I did that for like 20 years. Oh, I couldn't play with something. You know, at a certain point, you say, okay, guys, well, we'll go with whatever's in there. But there have been a few games, like I don't like 5e. I'm like, okay, I'm just tapping out. It's not even, and I'm not blaming the players. I'm not blaming anything else. Like, I don't like the system. I'm tapping out, and that's on me. I'll go find something else. And I'm not, all these people who want to get on their high horse about what system they play. You know what? I've heard that crap ever since I was 8 years old. And, I think Bruce and I are about the same age. It's like, who cares? You go to play with a game and you're using it as an excuse to play with your friends. If you're not having fun, drop out of the game. There's nothing wrong with that. It's the
Part of the experience.
Yeah. And you have to be mature enough to realize at a certain point, it's just not for me. Or, hey, this group isn't for me.
This group is not benefiting my free time. That's one of the things that like you have to realize. Like there might be like months invested where you did it all for naught, but like you have to go through that. That's just part of the fucking process until you find your tribe. That's the thing. And it's nice. It makes it easier to be quote unquote on YouTube, even though Chris will disagree with me, because I can at least go out and advertise my opinions and my ideas on gameology, and I can recruit from people that will stick around. Like I had no problem pulling, Flady and Six Nations and TCG into a game that, conceivably could last for years. Now Flady, he had to disappear because he's got like real issues at his job and he wants to have a stress-free life, and people at his job are looking to fire people. So if they see you on social media, like, what are you doing hanging out with this Trumper? And like he can't fucking fraternize with people like us, with me. That's the problem that he's got. And so his office is kind of toxic. He's got a very toxic office. And I get it. But I want him to come back whenever the time is good. And until then, well, okay, keep your head low.
Well, I'm going to break, like you have Kai on stuff, and I know Kai gets frustrated with certain things, but, I know he wants to get like in this big giant campaign and really get in there. I kind of like doing, 1 to 5 shots because I don't feel obligated that I have to be there every week. I'm like, okay, I can do this, but if I want to go on vacation or if I have stuff for my job, or like sometimes like, look, I know you Bruce, you do like 8-hour games. Like, I don't want to burn up my entire Saturday for that.
You're okay to say that, but if I work a long chunk of time,
yeah,
my way to relax is to have an 8-hour time frame where I'm playing with numbers in my head, setting up various problems, and letting the players try to figure out a way, hopefully not just exclusively by their sword arm, where they can get through it. Unfortunately for Pathfinder, that's all that game is just like fucking hack and slash. Like there's rarely do you have in a Pathfinder setup for an adventure or campaign where they try to tell you like, hey, it's better if you try to keep people alive so you have customers to sell to or people to rent out your, your hexes on your fucking map whenever you take over the world. You don't want to kill everything that's walking. But unfortunately, the game is set up to like as the game progresses, you get more and more power and abilities, and so eventually you just become a walking fucking spam X to win the battle, and that's all it is. I
Well,
really go ahead.
no. I mean, what I was trying to say is that's what I'm looking for me for a game. I'm like, okay, well, that's not a good fit for like your games. I'm like, okay, well, that's not your fault. It's on me, Okay, let me go find a group that wants to do, which is why I've enjoyed doing the OSC games, is because it's if I drop in, drop out. Guess what? It's a West Marches style. If you show up, you play. If you don't show up, you don't play.
Ow,
And
ow, 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 ow.
and what's funny is because people don't feel like they're obligated to show up every time. We get sometimes our groups are sometimes with we don't get enough. Sometimes we get a lot, but no one wants to run. And other times we have like DMs trying to fight over each other, and we'll get like 8 players in one session. And the next session we'll have 4. So it's all over the place. Like, oh, okay. But I enjoyed it because I don't feel stressed that I have to be there every week. Oh, are you gonna be there next week? Are you gonna be there next week? I'm like, I don't know. Where's the games? And again, I'm playing with Yale Geek and that group. You know what? I wake up. Do I feel like I'm gonna get a headache if I don't take a nap, or if I, because I'll wake up at 5 and I will go back to bed around 9 or something in the morning. It's like, you know what? I think I can play until noon. Let's do it. But that works well for me. But I'm not saying that everyone wants to do that. And I think that's the thing that everyone forgets about. There are different games for different people that want different things. If I'm
Yeah.
playing a Star Wars game, I want to do a Star Wars style. I don't want to be Event Horizon, kind of stuff. It's like I'm playing Star Wars. I want to do that. I want to be I want to be heroic. I want to do this. And then if you're playing Alien, okay, I know I'm going to die. Let's see how far I make it. Same with Call of Cthulhu.
Hey, I have the same feeling in Bruce's campaigns. I'm going to die, but the trick is not to die. God damn it! He's trying to. One of his monsters is trying to swallow me again.
Well. The thing I like about the Alien RPG is it has 2 styles, which is the cinematic and the campaign style. The cinematic is meant to be like a movie. So guess what? You only can play 2 or 3 sessions, and the question is how many of the characters survive to the end, and that's what you're. But I've watched a lot of people have fun with it, but they don't feel like they're obligated to. That's sometimes, when I play Shadow, it's like, are you going to be there? Are you going to be there? I'm like, no, sometimes I just want to, like I said, it's if I'm only going to show up half the time, I don't want to feel like, oh, if you don't show up, then we can't do anything. It's like, no, I don't want to be that way. But like you said, real life comes in.
That's one of the types of gaming that has really taken over lately, though, is the West Market style game. It's for drop in, drop out play. It's for people that are like, hey, I have kids, or I want to go participate in my softball league, or whatever it is, that they got to do. They have time for it, and that's okay. I'm not a big fan of that, and I will not run West Marches style play, but I will at least respect it for the fact that it allows a segment of the gaming population to be able to partake in the game hobby.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Well, like I said, different things for different people for the whole
Yeah.
thing. And some of it is, I like looking at systems and things. Well, I don't want to play a campaign with all the systems because I don't have enough time in the week. Period. But then the other part is, I don't. The only way to do that is I need to do, several one shots and stuff like that, or do a West Marches where I can drop in, drop out, so you can actually see how the system flows. And I'm okay with that. That said is, or hey, let's play every 2 weeks because that makes it a little bit easier to do stuff.
There's a game I'm playing every other Monday. Well, every other Monday. That's how my Monday schedule goes. It's Cyborg, CY underspace Borg, and I think it's from Borg or Morg or whatever the fuck you say it. And is very much that way. I'm like, if I told John, like, hey, I can't make it in this week, not a problem. We'll just slide you in next week. Or, hey, I don't want to play this character anymore. Let's gin you up a new one because these characters are only meant to be played once or twice, or you can play it the entire time. I'm like, oh, that's fucking awesome. So that's it. It's definitely a different style of gaming for me because I'm used to Bruce's style, not so much Bruce's style of DMing, but Bruce's the game that Bruce runs, where you make a character, you run it until one or two hit thing happen, it dies, or the campaign's over.
Well,
And
here's the other part about the West Marches style, because you're also supposed to do it as far as the time thing, especially if you have multiple GMs. And that's what we were doing with Yo Geek. Well, guess what? Your character's in X dungeon and they haven't gotten out. You have to make another character. So a lot of times you're playing 3 or 4 different characters, just because one's over in the dungeon, one's traveling somewhere. They're like, well, I want to play. Well, up a new character. You're like, well, okay, you know what? That other one's a thief. This one's a fighter. You know, I want to do a magic user this time. Or I want to do a cleric. Okay. And and I think that's the way that the original Dungeons and Dragons was meant to be played, which is why when you look at the training times and stuff like that, and like you said, is the more modern stuff is you play that one character and that's the only one you play forever until that one dies, or you retire it. And,
I hate 1 for 1 time, but that's just me.
I don't like 1 for 1, but I do like about 4 to 1 time or something like that. And don't get me wrong, I don't mind moving stuff, but I like having a clock in there. And everyone plays on a clock and guess like, okay, well, this one is, this adventure might take a month. Well, guess what? That character's out for that month while they're doing something else, which means you have to play a different character if you want to, bring it up until they advance that current timeline.
Well, this is years ago. I was trying to do a Game of Thrones game via Pathfinder, and it kind of works. I mean, more fantasy than George R. Martin was thinking about throwing in his books, and so it kind of worked. I had the players make up 2 different characters, ones that worked on the wall and ones that were in the 7 Kingdoms. And depending on, as soon as I get done with one, or more or less I get bored with where that line was going, I'd bump up to the wall so I can do something new, or do something a little bit different. So.
There was a Star Wars campaign years ago called the Dark Strider campaign, and it recommended that you had 1 main character and 2 secondary characters, because the game took over like 3 theaters over the course of time. And it was kind of dark because first, like, you're investigating an area that has had like conventional bombing and looks like, just rubble, Gaza, like uprooted infrastructure, sort of shit like that. And then you go to the second site that the Empire got into. One of their rogue admirals, or this is like right after the Return of the Jedi, and so the Empire's falling apart. So everybody's getting their pieces that they can, and this one admiral's just like, he found a fucking chemical factory, and they imported it onto some of his mass ships on one of his transports that he had in the fleet. And so he's zooming around the galaxy, constructing all this like napalm and Agent Orange and shit. And the second adventure we did get to the second planet, and it's just like Auschwitz. We found like people that had their skin turn green because of all the chemical radiation and everything else going on. And we're just kind of looking at all as our ship's hovering about 500 feet off the ground, looking at the view screens, looking at all the carnage. And our DM quit. And he took his books with him. His notes.
Son of a bitch.
Oh, man. It was feeling like it was going to be big and epic. And motherfucker.
Now, why did he quit? Is my question.
Because he's a pussy.
Bruce. Bruce is the reason why he quit.
Well, look,
This was before I became a complete hard ass. I was still a vet. I was a fresh vet. I was freshly out of the military and had done some stuff and reserves and all that. And like, it was just the questions that a couple of the girls that were there. One of them was an actual U.S. Marine Corps girl, and the other one was into like Anne Rice and everything. And they just kind of hammered a DM over the course of like 5 hours about the various ways that people had died as we're flying over the planet, and he's trying to talk around their interruptions. And they weren't being really hostile, but one of them was like pretty well studied because she was a whatever the equivalent of an O2 is in the Marine Corps. And
yeah,
so
lieutenant, first lieutenant.
yeah, she's like a first Louis. And then like the other chick, she was just like an English major, and like she had turned into a history buff, and she really was into World War One when nobody else was. She's still probably the only girl in her town that likes World War One studies.
Yeah.
But World War One was like the most vicious fucking warfare we'd ever done up to that point, because we were using flamethrowers and mustard gas on each other. And this chick's like into this campaign. She like had fully engaged in this campaign, and she was ready for it. She remained at the game store for like 4 weeks after that guy quit showing up, always hoping that he would show up with his books like, "Hey guys, I just needed a break." No, none of that shit. No
Oh, that's
call, no
heartbreaking.
fucking show. And we eventually, knowing what I knew about those girls, I started running a D&D campaign, and that didn't really turn them on too much. So I ran Call of Cthulhu in the 1921.
Yeah.
Like a couple years after World War II ends, and the fucking Spanish
You mean
flu finally stopped. And so I had those two locked in. So I got two chicks at my table, and now I had a group of like 10 dudes and like two chicks. And when you play Cthulhu, you can do stuff with that because like somebody's going to make their sanity save when you have that type of numbers. And we played a really big long campaign with a tribe of Dagon out of Colombia. And this is about the same time that all the shit in Serbia was kicking off.
Yeah.
And I don't know if like you guys remember that, but like that was like a big thing they were talking about in the news all the time.
Yeah,
And
Serbia. That was.
Are you talking about the
Yeah.
The Croatian Serb War of 1995, 96, 97?
Yeah, no, I was asking because I remember my father being there. So you had it like 92 forward, and then that one kind of stopped, and then you had the Yugoslav, the Serbian Kosovo thing where we came back in. I was trying to figure out which time frame you were talking about because
97 was when I was running this.
Okay.
So it was more Kosovo.
Yeah, that was more the Kosovo thing, and but you know what though, it's funny because all these people are like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. You play Call of Cthulhu, and all of a sudden, all the stuff that's no one's allowed to play that. You're okay putting that in because it's a horror story. Like, all right, it's funny on what, and I guess it depends on the players, but some people are just so afraid of doing anything that might offend someone. They play Call of Cthulhu, and they're like, oh, that's cool. Yeah.
It was 1997. If you were edgy boy, you were so in the green. And the game store owner, he was kind of tepid on shit. But when he realized like these people were going to have a good time regardless of who got offended, and he didn't, we weren't into South Park because that had just come out.
Yeah.
But as time was going on, we're running this campaign, and he was really enjoying it for the fact that he had like 7 people go up to his counter and ask him to buy a Call of Cthulhu book. So for the one time in the nation's history, when they weren't doing a new edition changeover, more than 5 Call of Cthulhu rulebooks were sold in a month.
Well, you know what I thought was funny is in Japan, Call of Cthulhu is the #1 RPG.
Yeah.
It's all about the tentacles.
Well, I think some of it also comes down to, D&D started here, but over there, it's like, okay.
Yeah,
and I've noticed that
well-
more women will play, whether it's, Vampire the Masquerade or Call of
Yeah, well,
Cthulhu. Women will play
also look at Japanese horror stories. Like, have you ever played true Japanese horror games? Holy shit, they are twisted.
Well, what was it Dragon's Bane started over in Europe.
Yeah, that was, yep.
That was their answer. Well, I won't say answer, but their variation of Dungeons and Dragons. And honestly, I don't know what the old Dragon Bane looks like, but I've been playing the most recent variation of it. And fuck's sake, that game will kick you in the nuts if you don't, if you're not fucking careful. Where
Well,
Does
like,
it have dragon ducks or duck dragons?
well, here's the thing with it, right?
No, it has
In
ducks,
most
but not
campaigns, in
dragons.
most RPG games, you get penalized. You have to fight the main bad. You can't fucking run away. You have to stand and fucking deliver, right? A Dragon Bane? No, it's okay to run. It's okay to realize that this thing will stomp your ass in if you don't fucking move.
Hey,
Oh,
Connell.
wait, hold on. Was Connell just talking about standing his ground? I think I was mishearing that.
So anyway, Connell was, you have to realize, growing up as a kid,
Yeah.
that's how you were supposed to do all of it. You weren't supposed to just stand your ground. It's like, too much, we're out of here. Because like the old BX, you hit 0 hit points, you were dead. AD&D, it was optional. You could go to -10. -10 was pretty easy to get to. And I kind of miss that. This whole idea of like, oh, well, you're supposed to be able to take this on. And the answer is, no, you're not supposed to be able to take this on all the time unless you're well prepared and you're lucky. My friend
That's
who's playing,
kind of where I still run my games from.
yeah.
And which is why Connell and everybody else have done everything they can to make the cohorts, and it's turned into Cohort Palooza.
I was pushed into that choice because I originally did not want a cohort nor wanted one to be a wizard because I don't play spellcasters very well.
So what is a cohort, just for my reference?
It's a player character that's 2 levels lower than your main character that adventures around with you and provides you a second set of actions during combat round.
Oh, okay. See, I'm used to I've been playing Axe, and where it's like, in BX, we're like, how many hirelings can we hire? And it's we start getting like small armies, and that's
How much meat can we throw at the problem?
No. We don't throw the meat in there. The question is, how many arrows can we send down straight?
No, okay.
It is no, because you don't want them to die, because I want to keep my hirelings around. So we're like, oh, well, guess what? Now you get this armor. Now you get this armor. Yeah, we can afford to buy you some plate. And so they're going around, really. But yeah, it's like, well, of course you're going to die if there's just 8 of you. But when there are like 24 of you, things get spread around a bit. So your odds of getting...
And if you've got 10 of them that can hit a target, say a manticore, they all hit the target with their crossbow, and afterwards they run away just so they don't die. They get experience points. Eventually, they might get level 2 hireling, level 2 torchbearer.
Yep.
Chris is the first person I've ever seen in Pathfinder, really in any system, to have his own small mercenary group traveling around with them.
If you read the original D&D, the Dungeon Master's Guide, the original Dungeon Master's Guide, and I didn't realize this as a kid because I wasn't like, oh no, we're going to do that. You start realizing it says, oh, less than 20, you don't have any negatives to evade. And I like to think as a kid, it's like, who the hell has 20? Well, now I've been playing in Geeks games. It's like, how many of these people can we hire? It's like, okay, we want half of you to protect the wagon while we go into the dungeon, and the other half of you come in here, and your whole job is just to shoot off crossbows. And I don't care, like if the average player hits 80% of the time, and these guys hit 20% of the time, that's okay. We got 10 of them. At least you're taking off, 10 to 15 hit points of damage per round. that adds
Oh
up.
yeah. Well, there for a while, the game that what game was that? The Warhammer Fantasy game I was playing for a while. It kind of stalled. Hirelings are definitely the way to go in that campaign. Holy shit!
Oh, it's exactly, and I think that's part of the, and I think that's just some of the maturity level I've noticed is when you're young, you don't want to have those. And now I notice that, here I am 50 plus and going, okay, more hirelings. How many of you can go there? It's like going to Home Depot and finding out and hiring every, immigrant laborer. Like, all right, you're all coming with me. Can you hold a bow? Can you do a crossbow? All right, you're coming with me.
And that's the thing, like a campaign should actually have like hirelings, and like you'll have like 5 sets of empty hands because you want people to be able to carry the treasure you find. Like, listen, the more we carry out of here, the more we get split. Okay,
That's why we have wagons.
we don't have a wagon that fits down the goddamn dungeon, so you
Yeah,
need
I know.
people.
Well, if you ever look at the old player's handbook, start counting the number of figures that are out there, and they're carrying off like the snake. The guys trying to pull the gems out of the eyes. You start counting them, like, I think there's more than 8 players in here. 8 characters, and you do that. The other part is, instead of me trying to hold a torch, here you're just the torch bearer. Your only job is not to die and carry the torch. That's all you're expected to do. Just stay in the middle and don't get in the way. All right. There's that one. And then you're like, you know what? None of us want to do mapping. We're going to hire a mapper. So, okay. You might have this core group of people who are non-combatants in every way, but they're there to provide all the other stuff.
Hey, your job, yes, is to make sure we eat. Okay.
Yeah. Your job is to do this. Your job is to do that. And
hey, Bruce, I'm about ready to wrap up the show anyway. So if you need to take off,
yeah,
I do. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Probably do a paint day because I don't know if Bear wants to watch a movie without Janet. We want to watch Manhunter.
okay.
And Janet's gone. She's got to go take care of her father-in-law. He's passed.
Oh man.
So yeah, I mean the bitch is about being in your 50s. So
you're right.
I know. Well, you take care.
I'll see you guys mañana.
Man,
Good night, everybody.
Right.
Oh, well, I guess we're not leaving quite this second.
oh, you get to go. Hey, I stand my ground a lot, just not over anything important.
Hey, you know what? It doesn't do any good to stand your ground if you end up a paint smear on the dragon's foot.
Oh no! What I'm afraid to is usually almost inevitably if Bruce says 3 or more giants or dragon, Connell says kumquat.
Well, if the math is not mathing, I'm not a problem. Not bye bye.
Well, there's something to be said actually for running. And the problem is everyone wants to stand and fight all the time. No, sometimes discretion is the better part of valor.
I have only like in the low level campaign, we've only run away from one battle, but we didn't just like, oh, we're losing and then run away. No, I made a knowledge arcane check about a troll Enten hybrid, and I asked, does this a creature that would seem like my character think a good idea to run away? Bruce basically said yes. So Jen and I cast light on its face, on its 2 heads, and then we ran for our lives.
Now here's what I find funny. I don't have to tell you this. You can make that decision on yourself. If I see a giant, I don't care, a giant anyway, especially at low level. Like, yeah, we're leaving.
It wasn't an official giant. It was like a troll Enten hybrid.
If you're low level, that's still it's just like an ogre. It's terrifying. I remember.
Yeah, fair.
We were playing in Ravenloft. Oh, it must have been 30 years ago. But we were doing something in Ravenloft, and my friend just loved Ravenloft. We were 2 halfling. Well, in D&D, you could have been the bard. So we were halfling acrobats, and we went over, and this thing came out that looked like Frankenstein. I forgot, it was Adam or whatever it was. And he starts describing it, and I said, "I run." And then my the other player went, "Yep, I run." And he's like,
Were you guys doing the murder house?
I don't remember what it was. It was just well, he would just throw in whatever he did. You knew that if you're going to play this campaign, you're going to end up in Ravenloft within 1 or 2 sessions. You just do it. It's just anyway. The problem was is that we're playing halfling acrobats. Try keeping this as a horror story when you have this. It completely ruins the entire, theme and mood. Even and we were like, he said, "You ran away." I'm like, "Yes, we're halflings. We're not going to sit there and fight the guy straight on." One of the things I did is, I forgot what it was. One of the players, he was playing a drow or whatever. Anyway, he was like, he got the guy mad. The guy turned around and was like yelling at him. And I had this sling. And so I swung the sling around and popped the assailant between the legs. And then I immediately handed my sling to the person next to me, who I didn't even know. The guy turns around and sees him, grabs him, and winks away with him.
No, fuck.
I was, well, I'm glad he, this poor guy. That's when he turns around. It's like, it wasn't me. It's like, well, it's too late now. But yeah, but those were the kinds of things where we were just having fun with it. And it was like, well, but yeah, it completely ruined the whole mood and aesthetic of Ravenloft. So sometimes,
if the GM like constantly took it in Ravenloft, then I could see it. But I'm kind of like Maxi on that one. You're as the player, it's kind of your responsibility to at least try to act within the GM's world. And if you're not, you're kind of being a bit of a dick, unless it's like that's the expectation to begin with. Or in the case, like I said, if he had just been throwing you in Ravenloft after game after game after game after game, I could see you doing it just because you're sick of it.
No, we did it because we played the characters we wanted to play, and he played in the setting he wanted to play, and the two just weren't mutually compatible. That's it. It wasn't that we were being dicks, because it wasn't like we were trying to blow up his game. We said, "Hey, we want to do this." Now, if you're going to be playing as a DM, to be fair, and this is true for any advice, is what kind, and this is why whenever I start joining a game, and I hate it when they say, "Play whatever you want." No, what does the party need? And I'll play that. That's number one. What are you doing? Those are the things that I ask. Is like, okay, let's try to be a good party member. But then the other part that comes into it is, this is what happened with Bo. Your expectation of what you want in a game is not the expectation of what the players have. And if there's a mismatch, you need to figure out how to get the two together.
Well, when I say there's an obligation to the player to play within the GM's world, I don't necessarily that is where the thing I will kind of diverge from Max to begin with. Yes, it's the GM's world. The players want to have to play in it to begin with.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely true. And if you don't, and the way he looks at it is, well, I have tons of players that want to play in my game. Yeah, that was true in the military. It absolutely was. But I'll tell you this much: as you get older, it's kind of hard to get a group sometimes together, especially if you want to play a go ahead.
I catch a little bit of hell every once in a while. That I don't cater to my players, but to a certain degree, I'm like a little bit more free floating than I should be. But if you don't have asses in seats, you don't have a game.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And his point is, well, I don't want to play a game like this. Well, some of us would like to play games that we enjoy, which means you have to make some compromises one way or the other. If you're a DM and you want something, you have to let the players know what your expectations are. The other point is the players will come back and let you know what their expectations are. And usually you can compromise in there.
Right.
Just like I hear Heathen Dog talk about, well, you're going to do this, and I don't like this. I said, yeah, you kind of do a railroad for Heathen Dog. I kind of do a highway, which is, guess what? There are exits. You can take the exits off at certain points, but you kind of are still expected to run on the highway until you hit that exit.
Yeah.
See, I've been thinking about everyone's like, oh, you got the sandbox, you got the railroad, the highway. I've heard that one before. I would describe myself. I don't think I've heard this one yet. I may have an etch a sketch. I'm not entirely sure. I have the vision of what's there in my head, but I kind of leave the players to decide how the pattern ends up turning out completely. So it's like, well, we might have this here for the beginning, you might have this here in the middle, and you might have this at the end. But in the end, you never actually know what's going to happen.
Well, that's the way it should be. Actually, is
Yeah.
the way I'm looking at it is a railroad is you can hit certain milestones. Call of Cthulhu is a perfect railroad. If you don't have the railroad, the players will go off in so many directions that generally the adventure falls apart. That's just the way things work.
Yeah.
It's not that even railroads are bad, but the players have to know what they're in for. But then the other one that goes into it is you have the sandbox. Well, sometimes the sandbox is so open, the players
Fall out.
well, they don't know where to go, and so
It's
then the game goes
overwhelming.
nowhere.
Yeah.
But what you do want to do is you kind of want to have a meta plot in the background and encourage certain things, and then you put out notices and stuff like that. It's just like for anyone that's played The Witcher or stuff. How many times have you gone through and said, "I'm going to do all the side quests"? You ignore the main quest the entire time.
Oh, Skyrim. I mean, I haven't
Oh,
played Witcher, but Skyrim, yeah. Fuck.
There's an excellent like slightly off topic. There's an excellent thing about Skyrim. You see, Boromir. No one simply finishes the quests, the side quests on Skyrim. Someone says, "Watch me." Next one after that is just a skeleton at the computer.
well, but I would do that because like, well, if I go in this main thing, some of the side quests close. I want to do this. I savor it. But that's part of when you want to do it is you want to have things going on in the world outside the players, so it encourages them to be active. But you also want to give them places to go where they say, "Oh, I can do this or I can do that." Unless you have really type A players that have a clear vision of what they want, but you tend to get one or two players like that, and then you get a lot of players that just want to hang around and hey, I'll be part of this. Yeah, I'll do that. But the other part is you don't want to be a dick to the DM and go, well, guess what? We can go to the island today, and then the next session we can go to the island. Then you come back and like, nah, we're not going to go to the island. The DM just put in all those hours to do that, to build out that island. Don't be a dick that way. But
I don't think we'll be here much longer.
Well, with all this being said, yeah, Law Dog, we're still up. You both have made some really good points now that I need to think about that. I was joking to say I was about to say I jokingly I blame video games for the state of gaming RPGs today, just because people got used to. A lot of us grew up gaming on consoles or PCs.
Yeah.
And you go back to like some of the original games like Mario, Railroad, 100% Railroad, to a lot of these games now, Assassin's Creed, Skyrim, whatever, where you're playing a Go for 90% of the game. And the last thing I want to do in my next game is being another fucking gopher.
So I'm going to bring this up. Anyone that actually played the old Ultima series,
yeah,
you kind of had that, but you could wander around all over the world, and you're trying to figure out. You kind of had that one. There was other ones that I did out there where it was a big giant sandbox, and part of the adventure was finding those little nuggets off on the side. That's where they had this weapon, or this is where I had it, and this was before you had the internet. So it was really hard to
fucking books.
Yeah, you'd have to either buy the book, or you'd have to find your friend who found something, or you'd sit there. It's like the old Might and Magic, and you'd sit there and wander around forever. And character players will sometimes not have a focus. So that's sometimes we have a problem with the sandbox. Again, the reason I mentioned the highway is I'm if you can go a certain direction, you can go the direction, but I'm going to allow you points to get off of it and go off in a different direction. But I'm not going to let you just do it all the time. But I also remember, I've seen players do this when they're young, where the intention is trying to break the game. Oh, we're going to win. And you're like, okay, you think that you're going to have fun, but as a DM, I don't find it fun. Maybe you do find it fun as a player, but
you end up pissing off somebody with that thought processing.
Well, you do. And now, especially since we can do stuff online, guess what? I'll find a different group. And and I'm like, okay, that's what I mean by it being a dick, is when you're intentionally trying to sabotage the DM. That's different than saying, hey, I'm going to be playing, I'm going to be playing the game I want to play. That's a little different. Hey,
I'm going to play a halfling acrobatic in your Curse of Strahd. You're going to do what?
Well, yeah, well, that's true. but it's like, well, why? well, I want to play a halfling, whatever. That's very different than going, well, guess what? I know you're going to do this, but I'm going to try ruining the entire mood and scene by doing
I'm
X.
just poking a little bit of fun at you, brother. That's all.
Well, you know why? Because that's what we wanted to play. And then the other guy wanted to play that. And my friend wanted
Oh,
to be,
yeah.
my friend was going to be the DM. And he said, you know, you're going to end up there. I said, okay. I'm just letting you know. And as a DM, you should have a veto ability, to be fair, but you still want, you still want butts in the seat.
Asses and seats, yeah.
Yeah, could you do me a favor? Could you do this? Or could you do? And I had one. I guess it was a mage game, and the player was playing someone that was super autistic and everything else.
Yeah.
The player wasn't, but he was playing someone that was. And finally, I said, "Hey, look, your character isn't gelling with the theme and everything else." I said, "We can either change him up or we can make you a new character. How do you want to work this?" And that's the mature thing to do. It's like, hey, let's take you off by the side and say, but I've also done that as a player. It's like, hey, you know what? My character isn't working out with this group. Let me change up. Let me do this.
Oh, yeah. I want to stay at the table. This character's not working. Can we work something? Yeah,
exactly.
That's the best way to do it. With that all being said, Crafty Gamer, thanks for showing up. Omanal, thanks. Bruce, Shadow, of course. But as I say with other things, once the cigar is gone, I'm gone. Y'all, everybody out there, thank you for joining us tonight. Raven, Doc, Law Dog. I'm sure we'll see you tomorrow on Bruce's show or somewhere down the road. Everybody have a good week.
Yep. Have a good night.
Good night, all. For real this time.
Yeah.
Oh my God.